Great.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, everybody. My name is Scott Walton. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
That was pretty loud, wasn't it?
Glad you're here, Scott.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I want to thank Marilyn Gorowski and her family for inviting me. It's an honor to play for you guys. So I'm glad to be here. I play this thing all the time, so I'm pretty much deaf, so I have to yell all the time, so I hope you'll be able to hear me. Well, my name is Scott Walton, and I'm the pipe major with the Los Angeles Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Emerald Society. That means I lead the bagpipes for those organizations. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but I think what you want to hear is more tunes, so I'm going to play another tune. Actually, I'm going to play 3 tunes in a row.
You're good.
I doubt that you'll be able to tell. They say the way that you can tell one bagpipe tune from the other is by the title. So I'm going to do 3 of them in a row. The first 2, the one's called Minstrel Boy. It's a famous Irish tune. And the second tune is called Wearin' O' the Green. And it's also a famous Irish tune that was sang a lot by the Irish when they were revolting against the English. The third tune I'm going to play is one that I think will be familiar to you. What I'll do when I play that third tune, so you'll know that I'm actually on the third tune, is I'll step forward. Now I want you all to see if you can tell me the name of the third tune after you've heard it. Okay, I think you've all heard it somehow, but you might not associate it with the bagpipe. Okay, so here we go. Minstrel Boy, Wearin' O' the Green, and the mystery tune. Anybody got any guesses? The third tune? Do you remember a movie a few years ago with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara called The Quiet Man?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the tune that he played when he was dragging Maureen O'Hara across the grass by her hair. That tune, right? And that tune is called Rakes of Mallow. The Rakes of Mallow. And a rake in Ireland, some of you may know this, a rake is a young man, a young rowdy man. And so when the rakes would go into town and stir up trouble, right? So they called that tune the Rakes of Mallow. Okay? So that was the third tune. So I'm going to talk a little bit to give myself
You're
a
great.
little bit of well, I appreciate. Well, I'll tell you something. You all are very lucky to live here. I might have to apologize to some of you. I was waiting in the hallway, and I was a little bit hungry because I didn't get fed, and I found this tray with all these little packs of candy. And I ate a few of them. I have to tell you, I'm feeling pretty good. You guys have some nice candy here. Jesse, you might have to drive. Okay, so what are we going to do now? You know, a lot of people ask me, because I'm an LAPD detective as well as a bagpiper, and I'm very fortunate that I'm allowed to play the bagpipes as much as I am for a lot of good things. Unfortunately, I also play for a lot of funerals. But folks often ask me, why is it that the police and the fire department even have bagpipes in the first place? Right? And that's a very good question. And so, the reason, this is the best story, of course, you know, there's probably 50 stories. We'll let us all get in. We all get to get in. So, the history goes, the story of how the bagpipes became associated with police and fire service in the United States is that way back in the old colonial days, they had a thing called the night watch. And this is before there were professional police or firefighters, that one man in the neighborhood each evening would be asked to walk around the neighborhood and the village and look for fires or animals that got out or whatever might happen. And that person was called the night watchman. Okay, and that was called doing the night watch. Well, around the 1850s, the Irish were immigrating in. Actually, there were several waves, but one of them was right around the 1850s. A lot of Irish and Scottish people came into the United States, in the East Coast mainly. And they didn't have jobs, right? So they were looking for any kind of work they could get. Well, these guys that had to stay up all night and walk around the neighborhood discovered that they could give O'Malley or Mackenzie a penny and have them do the night watch for them. So then the neighbor would say, "Hey, that wasn't you that walked by my house. Oh, that was O'Malley. He doesn't have any work. I gave him a penny." "Really? Okay, well when it's my turn, I'm going to give him a penny and have him do mine." So these first unofficial paid police were these Irish and Scottish immigrants. So when it came time to formally form the police departments and the fire service, of course it made sense that the Irish and the Scottish would be heavily involved as the first police and fire because they'd already been doing it unofficially. So then when they would lose someone in a fire or something, they would want to have something that was familiar to them to play at the funeral. And hence we have the bagpipes at the police and fire funerals. So that's how that all came about. Now with LAPD, where I work, you know, we're newer than back here. Jesse and I are staying in a place called the Afton Inn in Afton. It was made in 1867. So we don't have stuff that old in California. So you guys have been doing it a lot longer than us. So our bagpipe tradition started a lot later. Okay, on my bag cover here, it talks about a guy named Ian Campbell. Okay, and my band is dedicated to the memory of Mr. Ian Campbell. Okay, and Ian Campbell was killed on March the 10th, 1963. And many of you may know that from the story The Onion Field. Okay, there was a movie made about it, a book written about it called The Onion Field. And that was about Ian Campbell. Ian Campbell was a bagpiper. He played bagpipes in the Marine Corps during the Korean War. And he played bagpipes in the basement of Hollywood Station, where he was assigned. So when Ian Campbell was killed, his was the first LAPD officer to ever have a bagpiper at his funeral. and it wasn't until the 1960s. Okay, and that continues on today. So that's the history of how bagpiping got involved with the police and fire service. Okay. So, enough of that talking. We can play another tune.
Good.
Do you have a question? No? Yes.
Where did the bagpipes originate from? Scotland?
No, that's another good question, actually. I didn't think you'd want to go that far back, but since you asked. The bagpipes originally were started in Egypt.
Oh!
Yeah, they're an ancient instrument. And this, as you can see, it somewhat resembles the bag, because somewhat resembles a stomach. The original bagpipes were usually goat or sheep stomachs for the bag. Yeah, and on one end, I'd hope the in end, they put the blowpipe, and on the other end of the stomach, they put this, which is called the chanter. And so the Egyptians were the ones that originally came up with the idea of a bagpipe. Okay, there's old pictures on old Egyptian vases that show people playing the bagpipe. What happened was when the Romans went and conquered Egypt and everybody else pretty much, they adopted the bagpipe as an instrument of war, as to lead their troops. So then the Romans went all over Western Europe, right, up into England and Scotland, Hadrian's Wall and all that stuff. So they did all that. And when the Romans left, they left the bagpipe there. People had seen the bagpipes and had started playing them there. A lot of Romans, this isn't always talked about, but when the Romans were driven out of the countries that they occupied, they'd occupied these countries for so long that some of them had made families there and everything else, and they didn't want to leave. They kind of took off their stuff and blended in with the crowd and stayed. So some of the Romans that stayed kept the bagpipes. And there are actually bagpipes all over Europe. There are Spanish bagpipes, Irish bagpipes, French bagpipes. They're all slightly different. But everyone has their version of the bagpipe. It's just that the Scottish Highland pipes, which these are the most prominent and the most well-known. So it was the Egyptians that made them originally. The Romans took it up all over Europe. And the joke is that, everybody was smart enough to throw the bagpipes away except the Scottish. They kept it. All right, so I'm going to play another couple of tunes. The first tune I'm going to play is called Shenandoah. And I learned this tune when I was back in Virginia piping. And they were playing it there, and I liked it so much. It works on bagpipes pretty well, so it's a beautiful tune. I'm going to play Shenandoah. And then the second tune I'm going to play, I think you're all going to know, so I'm going to let you figure that one out. We all got the second one, right?
Yeah.
Irish eyes are smiling.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's probably some people that are Scottish here, imagine. Not just Irish. So. What I'll do, I'm going to play another set of tunes here. And the first one I think you'll all know. It's called Scotland the Brave. And it's sort of like the unofficial of my loveliest assistant. Yeah, so I'll play Scotland the Brave, which I think you'll all recognize. It's the most famous tune. Whenever anyone comes up to me and says, I heard the tune, it goes like this, and I think it's the Old Spice theme too. So anyway, and then I'm going to play a second tune, which is a very important tune, an American tune though. Are there any Marines in the house? Any Marines? No, maybe? No. Okay. Well, I'm going to play this for the Marines anyway, because. So I'm going to play Scotland the Brave, followed by the Marine hymn. Wow.
Just warm here.
It's okay. All right. You seem to like the American tunes. So let me see. I'm going to play you a couple more American tunes. And you guys can sing along if you like. are singing along great. Oh, thanks. No, I said vodka.
I like the shoes. I like the shoes, yeah.
You like the shoes in there?
Yeah, I like
Let me tell you about this stuff.
Okay.
Okay? All this stuff I'm wearing has a meaning. And there's actually a book that you're supposed to get when you're going to dress out in what we call Highland attire, or Highland regalia. And there's a lot of rules.
Oh.
And some folks get very, very upset if you wear it incorrectly. And so since I'm in a very official capacity, and I'm seen by a lot of people, I have to follow all the rules very strictly, which I do, because the last thing we want to do is offend anybody by offending their culture. And starting out with the beginning, I'll talk about the tartan. Okay, this tartan here is called the All Ireland Green tartan. Okay, the plaid. Okay, the All Ireland Green. And the reason it's All Ireland is because, as many of you may know, the Republic of Ireland is thought of as green, right? Green. We're green on St. Patrick's. But the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, which is still ruled by Great Britain, is orange. Their color is orange. And people from there are frequently referred to as the Orangemen. So this tartan is a tartan that combines both the green and the orange. So it's the All Ireland Green. And if you know the Irish flag has the orange part, the green part, and in the middle is the white. Okay, and the whole idea is that the white is the peace between the north and the south. And that's the meaning of the Irish flag.
Now, how did All Ireland Green get chosen for
Now,
Los Angeles Police Circle
okay,
Society?
there goes my cheerleader there. Well, when we formed the band many years ago, I was one of the founding members of the band, and we were trying to pick a tartan that would work with the blue police shirt. But also, the band in Los Angeles, the Emerald Society Pipe Band, we have sheriff's deputies in our band, and they wear the tannish khaki shirt. And there are some other police agencies that wear a dark green shirt. So we needed to find a tartan that would match all of our different police shirts. See, police are very fashion conscious. So we had to find the proper tartan that would match all of our shirts, and this one matched the best. So well, we had a committee of which I was on at the time, and we chose this tartan. And what happened was that this tartan was not that popular worldwide, and the loom in Scotland was about to discontinue making this All Ireland Green tartan. So we were buying them. We buy them 10 at a time. And when you buy kilts like this, they don't just make these. You just don't buy them off the rack. You have to order them. You're measured, and then you call Scotland, and they actually make them and send it over. So we had to purchase 20 yards of actually, no, we purchased 200 yards. We had to purchase 200 yards of the tartan for them to continue to make it. And we've since been very successful, and we purchased a second 200 yards. So now the mill has changed this to the Southern California All Ireland Green, because we're the only ones that buy it. So anyway, so that's the story of our tartan that we wear in the kilt. Okay, since I'm on the kilt is 8 to 9 yards of wool.
Wow.
So yeah, after all the pleating and everything, so it's heavy. It's made for.
Did you say wool?
Wool.
No.
Wool. Heavy wool. Yeah.
Wow.
When you think California, you think wool, don't you?
So they're heavy garments. The kilt is a man's garment. Okay, it was never meant to be worn by women. Women at the time were supposed to wear long dresses to their ankles. They weren't supposed to be showing their knees. Now you'll see women wearing kilts now only when they're in a band. If a woman is not playing in a band, because we allow women in the band, they weren't way back when. They wear kilts. But normally a Scottish lady would never think of wearing a kilt. She might wear the same pattern, the same tartan, but it'll be in a long dress. Okay? So there always the question arises about what's worn under the kilt. Okay, and that's very simple. Socks and shoes. Actually, yeah, see, you should have had your drum, Mike. But anyway, the story about the kilt is that it was worn as the single and only garment. Bless you. It was worn by the Scots as a single and only garment that they wore. And it was wrapped around them. Okay, they slept in it all the time, wore it. Okay, it probably didn't smell too good. It was their sleeping bag, their what they wore, everything to them. Probably their napkin, whatever. So the pin, which I have a kilt pin, you see here. This is a ceremonial ornamental pin that we wear. But the pin was originally worn up on the side, the weak hand side, your right hand here, left hand here. It was worn up here to hold the whole thing together. And they had a sword. Okay, they fought with a sword. So when the Scotsmen fought, they pulled the pin out, dropped the kilt, and fought with their sword in their hand, only wearing nothing. Okay. So they were very scary individuals. Okay. And you saw Braveheart with Mel Gibson and all that. Well, funny thing, I got a couple of stories I can tell you about that movie. But anyway, that wasn't completely historically accurate. They painted their face, yeah, but they also painted their chests and everything else. So they went into battle naked, all painted, their whole bodies.
What color?
So, yeah, well, whatever the color of their family or their clan was. Blue or red or whatever color they represented their clan. That's one of the ways, okay, if you're fighting a bunch of naked guys, how do you know which one's yours and which one's not? I think most of these Scottish people eventually became hockey fans later. Anyway, sorry. Oh, I guess the Kings have won, huh? Who would have guessed? LA team, we don't even have ice. I thought they were on roller skates. Okay. Anyway, just an interesting side note about that movie. They were having a hard time filming in Scotland. And a friend of mine, I have a couple of friends in Ireland who are police. We tend to hang out, because no one else will hang out with you. So and so I went to Ireland. I met these police officers. The police in Ireland are called the Garda an Síochána, which means the guardians of the peace. And Ireland only has one police department. They don't have like the FBI, the CIA, the sheriffs, the PD, the meter ticket writers. No, one police department there for all of Ireland. They're called the Garda. Okay, and I have some friends that I go and meet with when I'm there. And they were telling me how when Mel Gibson was filming that, he was sitting in a bar one night with one of the Garda officers who was visiting Scotland, and he was complaining about the rain in Scotland. It rained all the time. I guess you guys know anything about that here. But anyway, it rained all the time in Scotland, and they weren't getting their shots. They were way behind on the picture. They weren't getting the shots done. The battle scenes couldn't be done because the fields were too soggy. And the guys couldn't run and they couldn't do it. They were sinking in the bogs up to their knees. So the Irish Garda guy said, well, look, you could film these battle scenes in Ireland. We wouldn't be getting any rain. The fields are dry. And then Mel Gibson says to my friend, well, where am I going to get all the extras I need to run in these fields? He goes, well, I tell you what, there's huge fields around the academy, the Garda Academy there. And we have about 500 police officer students in the college at the Garda Academy right there. And they're all young white guys for the most part. They look like old Scottish warriors. Pretty ugly and hairy and stuff. So why don't we just take these Irish police recruits and we'll have them be your battle soldiers, give them your props. And Mel Gibson says, well, okay, but how much could I pay them? And they said, well, they can't be paid because they're already on duty. So I don't have to pay them? Bam, I'm there. So next thing you know, Mel Gibson goes over and films a lot of the battle scenes that you see from the movie Braveheart were actually filmed in Ireland. Because it was drier there at the time. Just a side note. So, anyway, I tell you the song that we like, and let me tell you the difference between the tune and, oh, I didn't finish with all the stuff yet, did I? Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so the rest of the stuff that I wear. So you like the shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the shoes are called ghillie brogues. Okay, they're called ghillie brogues. Ghillie brogue shoes, or ghillies for short. Okay, and you can't see all of them because I have them covered with spats right now. But the ghillie brogues shoes don't have a tongue in them. They just get like laced. Okay, and there's no tongue like a regular shoe has. Then you can see the socks. That's why they're very noticeable when you're wearing them without the spats. Well, the rumor is that the reason is because pipers are very poor. And there's a one-way flapper. Now we use synthetic rubber, but there's a one-way flapper in here so that when I blow air into the bag, it doesn't blow back out at me. It flaps open and closed. And that flapper used to be made out of leather. So the word was always that the pipers were so poor, they couldn't afford to buy a new flapper, so they cut the leather out of their shoe tongue and put it in their bagpipe. So they never had tongues on their shoes because they used them to fix their bagpipe. I don't know. Anyway, so the shoes are called the ghillie brogues. Okay, and then of course I wear spats. The reason I wear spats, as you may know, were from the old days when the cavalry walked through the briars and whatnot, and they would get these stickers in their feet and in their socks, and it would screw them up. So they wore these spats to protect their ankles against the briars and whatnot. Okay? So we wear spats symbolically now to show that we're a military band. Okay, the police and fire bands are military bands. So we wear the spats to show that. Okay? The socks are also wool. They're called kilt hose. We call them kilt hose, but they're wool. Because we're wearing these heavy socks, these flashes that are on the side look like my kilt too. That's actually like a garter, so that when I'm marching, my kilt hose don't fall down around my ankles. That doesn't look very good, does it? Okay, and then we have the knife. And everyone's always asking me about the knife I carry in my sock. Okay, I always say if you're going to wear a dress, you better carry a knife. No, anyway, this is called a scandu. Scandu in Gaelic means little black knife or dark knife. Okay, and as I told you before, how they had the kilt wrapped around them, held together with the pin and the sword. What happens if somebody gets a jump on you from behind you? You can't get your sword, right? Or you drop your sword, something happens. You need to have a backup knife to protect yourself, right? So they carried a little black knife somewhere in their kilt, hidden. A hidden knife. Okay? So, if I'm coming into your house and I'm wearing my hidden knife where you can see it, that's a sign of chivalry that I'm not hiding any weapons. I'm showing you all. I'm not going to hide any weapon from you. This is my only weapon, and I'm showing it to you. Okay, so that's the symbolism there of the scandu. Okay, now so working the way up. This is called a sporran. The sporran. Okay, and it's a purse. I mean, if you're going to wear a dress and you're going to wear garters, you might as well carry a purse, right? And so anyway, that's like a band purse, which are coming back into fashion now. But anyway, this one though is not very useful. I've got a little pocket in the back. I can put like a car key in there, and that's about it.
Credit card, that's all you need.
Yeah, just one credit card. Yeah. But anyway, this is a military sporran. Because we're a military band, as I said before, it's made out of horsehair. And the main purpose of this sporran is to hold the kilt down in front of the men. Okay, the back is pleated. It doesn't usually fly up. It's pretty heavy. Okay, the front needs a little help. Okay, so this makes sure we don't have any wardrobe malfunctions. But we carry another sporran, a dress sporran, which we wear in the evening. Okay, an evening sporran or a dress sporran. And that sporran does open up and you can put your stuff in it. Okay, luckily with me I have a couple of pockets and I can put my stuff in here. But some guys carry a pouch on the belt. I like to keep the belt without anything on it. just personal preference. But normally you're not supposed to have anything on your belt. So then we've got, this is called a kilt belt, and we have a pretty hefty belt buckle on it. So because some guys wear suspenders under, but that's not really proper. You're just supposed to have a hefty belt. Again, no wardrobe malfunctions. We have our belt buckle with our flag and the Irish clawed and all our decorations on it to represent our band. We also have a harp on the front of our sporran here. Okay, the harp is the Irish symbol, like the Americans have the eagle. We have the eagle, that's the symbol of America, United States, bald eagle. The Irish, it's the harp. That's their symbol. Okay, so we have a harp. And then I wear a regular police shirt like we wear on LAPD. This is pretty much like LAPD shirt, except when I'm not on duty for LAPD, which I'm not now, I wear a different patch, the Emerald Society patch, which has the clawed on it. Okay, see the clawed, the two hands and the heart and the crown with the green. Okay, they're very popular with rings in Ireland. You know, and basically the clawed again talks about the unity of Ireland and the two hands holding the heart and the ultimate loyalty to the crown. Some people may disagree with that, but it is on the clawed. And we wear these shirts because sometimes we want to look all uniform. We don't, in some events that we go to, we do a lot of events. The band I play in, the Los Angeles Police Emerald Society Pipes and Drums, we do about, the whole band ends up doing about 160 events a year. Okay, we've done the Rose Parade, we do the Hollywood Christmas Parade every year. We were just on the show Two Broke Girls. I don't know if you've seen it, it's kind of a bad show. We were on the St. Patrick's Day show. So we do TV shows, movies, plus parades. So we're all over the place. So sometimes they want us to look all the same. Okay, and when we look all the same, we wear the same shirt. So we'll wear this shirt. If it's an event like a police funeral, where we want to show the diversity of how many different police agencies we have, we'll wear all of our different police shirts. Okay, so we have kind of different things. So that's the shirt. Of course, I wear the tie, and my badge says Pipe Major on this badge. This isn't my LAPD badge. And then the hat. Okay, the hat is called a Glengarry. A Glengarry. And this thing here, the green thing, is called a hackle. And you know, like you talk about, don't get your hackles up. Like when a cat or a dog gets mad, the thing that goes up on their back is called a hackle. So this little decoration we wear on the top, trying to make us look taller, I guess. Okay, and then we've got our hat piece on here. Most all bands will have a hat piece here that will represent either their band or their family, clan, or their department. Okay, but ours represents our band. Okay, so that's the whole head to toe. Now there are other different looks that you can have too. The evening look, there's the big formal look with the big plaid and the big feather bonnet that our drum major wears. Okay, so anyway, but this is an accepted style here, the military band style that I wear. Okay. So that's the whole story of what I wear. And then the pipes, of course, we have a cover that matches our stuff, and as I said before, Ian Campbell on it. So one of the tunes, I was going to tell you the difference. The tune is a song, so to speak, that's played that doesn't have words. Okay, a tune. A song has words, right? So when something is done on the bagpipe, we refer to it as a tune. But then when it's sung, it's a song. And one of the most famous songs everybody wants to hear is Amazing Grace. Right? But we have someone here today who can sing Amazing Grace. So that's lucky. So what we're going to do, Carrie is going to sing Amazing Grace for you all. And then after she, are you going to do 2 or 3 verses?
I think it's maybe 4.
Oh, 4? She's going to do all 4 verses. Very seldom do you hear people that know the words to all 4 verses.
We'll see if I remember them.
All right. Well, I'm sure she's going to. She sang it for us the other night. It sings beautifully. So she's going to sing Amazing Grace. And then when she is done, when she has finished her verses, I'll play one final verse on the pipes.
Oh.
One of the most memorable times that I sang this is sort of an international song. It's known everywhere. And I went on a mission trip to Haiti in 1985, I think. And there was no communication there whatsoever. And we only decided the night before that we were going to go to Lakai. And it was rather interesting because when we showed up, in this village, you know, there's goats running around and stuff and thatched roofs. I mean, we're talking really pretty primitive. We pulled in and we just checked the first house we went to. It's like, is there a minister here? Is there any kind of religious, you know, organization there at all? And it turns out we had pulled into the pastor's yard. And they said, we've been expecting you. And we said, really? We only decided to come last night. And they said, well, somebody stood up about 2 months ago in our prayer meeting and said that the white missionaries were coming. We were the first white missionaries ever to visit Lakai in Haiti. So that was rather interesting. And the believing community there met like 4 times a week, and they had just met the night before, and they were going to meet again the next night. Nobody was expecting to meet the night that we were there. We got there maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and by 6 o'clock, 200 people had met at the top of a mountain in a church made out of banana leaves and sticks and things like that, very primitive. And of course, we didn't know their language, but when I started to sing Amazing Grace, they all closed their eyes and hummed with me.
Oh,
and I will never forget that. There's a really meaningful song to me because of that. So here we go. If you know, go ahead, hum with.
You need to give her a fish shot.
Either that or I'll just sing it.
That's that.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace those fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun, we know last days to sing God's praise than when we first begun.
Sounds so much better when she does it.
Very thanks.
Wow.
Night, everybody.
Okay. Hey, great. Well, I can play some other tunes, but I don't.
Okay, it's been an hour.
Hmm? What's that? Do we do it?
What are we doing?
Let me do, should I do another tune?
Yes. All our lighters out. Are you done?
Okay, I'll do another tune. Let me see if you guys know this one. Thanks for listening, and I also it's an honor to come and play for y'all.
It was